What's up, y'all? And welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today we're here to find out what's wrong with getting reborn as a goblin. Now, this series, this first volume that I read, it is published by Yen Press, and the author is Nazuna Miki, and the artist is Tsukasa Araki. So, like I said, this first volume should be out by the time y'all are listening and or watching this. Very interesting. So, as you might guess by the title, this is an isekai, but like a lot of the isekai that I have behind me, Karate Survivor, Headhunted to Another World, and Yakuza Reincarnation, this one's a little bit different. Which y'all know I love finding my hidden gems. So, as the title implies, this follows the story of an office worker named Akira Yagami who gets reincarnated as a goblin. Now, on the surface, okay, what is so special about that, Robert? Well, the kind of interesting thing about this, which I guess some of this information I've kind of heard bits and pieces just over my years of watching anime and reading manga, but getting a character that is actually living the life of a goblin, it kind of like hammers in a lot of different facts and information about goblins and stuff, whatever. Which, before I get to that, so like I said, the main character Akira, he was an office worker, and long story short, Truck-kun got him. His little boy in the street, he pushed the little boy out the way, he died, he got hit by the truck, but the thing that was happening is that as he's kind of like having his final moments, he's inadvertently kind of like creating his own character for this other world, so to speak, to where, you know, he sees his because a couple of like his friends from work was there and they were mourning over him or whatever, and he kind of was like, man, I want to be the one to see people go, not the other way around. And so there's a little text box or whatever pops up or whatever that's kind of like, okay, searching. And then he's also like, man, I was only 29 years old, and the average life of a person in Japan is 80. I wish I kind of get to live to be that age. And the thing is like, okay, once again, searching, narrowing down results. And then his final wish is that, so his friend that was there is basically kind of like a younger colleague that he was kind of training at work. And so he was kind of like, man, I wish I could have passed on my knowledge and skills to my colleague. And thus, whatever this thing is, takes those different wishes he made, so to speak, whatever, and he is reborn as a goblin. And so the way these things come into play is that goblins, at least in this world, only live for 7 days. So they are truly living that YOLO life, to where it is like, hey, we just gonna live our life to the fullest. We're gonna bang it out, have kids, have all this stuff. Cause hey, I'm only here for 7 days. Gotta make the best of it. And of course, with them only living 7 days, they don't need to sleep, so they can just maximize their time that they have. And the other key thing is that each goblin is born with one unique skill when they are born, and when they die, they can pass on that skill to somebody else who is there at their side when they die. Now, the goblins, they can accumulate multiple skills from different people or from other goblins or whatever, but only the skill that you were born with is the one that will pass on. And so that's where things get very interesting, because our main character, his skill is basically that he's able to live 80 human years. Because remember, that was one of the things that he wished when he was dying. He was like, man, I wish I could have gotten to actually live my full life. Well, hey, now for a goblin, he is going to be living thousands of times over that lifespan, which is kind of where things really start to get interesting at the beginning, like within like that first chapter or two, we see he talks about how he's only been in this world or whatever for a month, but he's accumulated 200 plus skills because he's been there when all these different goblins have died. And like I said, it's only been a month, but when you have a lifespan of a week, then he probably seen people die every freaking day, and he just racking up them skills. And so that is where the true uniqueness of this series starts to shine, because not only do you have, of course, this guy who was, he was 29 years old in general, so he already has a different mindset from the normal goblins, but now also he's going to be able to live 80 human years and just keep on accumulating skills. And so he kind of basically starts to, throughout the story, I'm not going to go into all the specifics, whatever, but he starts to organize the goblins in a way that they never thought about, because like I said, like, man, I'm only here for a week. Screw organization, screw whatever, and so one of the kind of like interesting things he kind of introduces, which I guess I'll say there was like an incident that happens where a goblin ends up doing some harm to a human, and then some humans come to retaliate, and he ends up negotiating peace between the two sides, and he ends up going and meeting a high official on the human side of things, and then one of the main humans that he runs into, it is this woman named Karen, which I love her design. She's very beautiful. I just like the way just her whole look and stuff, whatever, just really dope. But they kind of have the most interaction, I guess I could say, between the two races throughout this volume, and what looks like it's going to be a thing going forward in the series. But basically, when he comes back from negotiating with the humans or whatever, he starts to slowly put things into place to where he's like, man, it's a lot of skills and stuff that are kind of like going to waste. And so he, like I said, he starts to organize them to where, like, for example, he's like, okay, who out here has a combat / offensive type of skill? And so he gets them all grouped together, whatever. And basically what he starts to do is he starts appointing in these different groups, whatever, one goblin, and he gives them a name, because to this point none of the goblins have names. They're just, hey, I'm just another goblin. I'm a goblin, you a goblin, we all goblins. And so, but he starts to give the different goblins names, and what he has them do is, hey, when you die, like let's say he named one, I don't know, Peter. And Peter is the head of the combat crew or whatever. Well, when Peter dies, whoever he passes his skill on to, they'll become Peter too. And so they'll have whatever the skill they already had and this person's. And then that's basically how he starts to form some type of lineage within these ranks of goblins. And so Karen, she's kind of there because she's there to also kind of like help observe stuff as well. And so she starts to slowly see, like, okay, this goblin is very different, and he's starting to introduce like organization and stuff. And so it just kind of just starts to like, it basically starts to get the wheels turning in your mind of like, okay, yeah, if word gets out that this is happening, then the humans are going to see this as a real threat because, like I said, it's like, oh, okay, these little mindless, dumb goblins who only live for a week deep in the woods, who cares? But it's like, okay, no, y'all are starting to make laws and rules and have order and structure to where, okay, yeah, y'all only live for 7 days, but there is a chain of command. Though it was funny how like she came and checked in with the main character Akira after a few weeks, and he was talking to the head of whatever one of the groups or whatever, and the guy was like yeah, I'm Peter 3 because it's already been 3 weeks, which means two others have already died and stuff. So, but yeah, like I said, I am just very curious to see how this stuff is going to start to unfold. Because he also does me a very interesting uh character as well, that's not a goblin per se, but of, I guess, kind of like a of that type of creature, that he gets a very dangerous skill. Um, that I love when a series kind of does like the foreshadowing thing of like, little did I know on this day when this thing happened, the repercussions it would have. I love when series do stuff like that or whatever, and they kind of do that when Akira gets this character's skill or whatever, and we kind of get to see it in play a little bit here and there. But basically, think of it as kind of like a skill to where it's kind of like a dominating skill, to where if you beat somebody, then once you have bested them, then this skill forces them to obey your command. And so he flexed it a little bit. I guess kind of like not directly, but kind of like Conqueror's Hockey in One Piece a little bit, to where it's like he's able to impose his will on others. And so, but anyway, like I said, just overall, there is something here with this series that, like I said, I am just very curious to see unfold. And like I said, it's just something just very different. Like I said, from the usual isekai thing. Though I did see some people kind of like, at least like when I was like searching on Twitter and stuff, whatever, people mentioned like, oh, maybe it's got like a little bit like slight similarities of like some like reincarnated as a slime vibe, kind of, but not directly. But the potential is there because, like I said, like he's only been alive for a month or two and already has 200 plus skills, and like seeing him whip out a couple of the skills in a couple of scenarios that he ended up getting caught up in, it was like, okay, this is going to be really dope. But yeah, I just look really forward to seeing how this all plays out and stuff. And so if you are a fan of isekais like me, and like I said, especially something that's a little bit different from just the standard, oh, person gets reincarnated into some fantasy world and they're just a regular person, it's like, no, this is getting a look at the life of a goblin, which, like I said, I hadn't really seen before. I'm pretty sure there's probably something out there, whatever, but for myself, this is new to me. And also, this author, they also did a series called Although I Am Only Level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. I haven't read or watched this one yet, or actually, okay, the anime is coming out next year, but I haven't read this one yet, but I've heard the name of it before, so I guess the author of that is also the creator of this. But anyway, no need for me to ramble on any longer than that. Like I said, just want to just get my general thoughts on this, but let me know what y'all think. Is this something that you might be interested in? Like I said, it has a pretty cool setup. There is, of course, a little bit of humor because, of course, like I mentioned, with goblins living short lives, they are in their getting busy, banging it out. And so there's some funny moments surrounding that stuff as well. But with that, thank you so much for listening and or watching. And let me know what you think if you happen to check this series out or if you're interested. And with that, I will catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.